Netflix just had earnings and it's getting hammered into the after hours. It's down about 25%, if not more. I am your host, The Cowboy. This is the chart of the day. Welcome to another edition. Let's get started. All right, so we'll take a look at Netflix here as I'm going to show you something into my trading platform here on Thinkorswim. You can see the big sell-off, the earnings. They didn't even come that bad. I mean, if you look at this, they had, 292 estimated, and they've gotten 353 per share. So, I mean, are you kidding me? I don't know what's going on in here. I think they have a loss of subscribers. There is some other news in there, some guidance maybe for the rest of the year. And maybe with the fact that, they got some, issues with the, with the Russian viewership there as well. So anyway, they're selling off here aggressively in the after hours. I actually bought Netflix here at about 259. I just posted it to the pro room, the purchase. I think this is an over exaggeration in here. I'm going to jump to the charts and take a look at it and see what's going on. But yeah, I wanted to do a quick video on it because we haven't actually done one since this is, I think, March 23rd. I don't see here because of my ticker, but that's when the last time we looked at it under the chart of the day review. And we were expecting a little bit of an ABC correction higher at the time, followed by another decline. So possibly an ABC to complete a larger fourth wave. So if you want to watch the whole discussion about the longer term structure in Netflix, take a look at that. So this is not unexpected, but it's maybe a little bit sooner than I thought. So let's jump over and take a look at the charts. This is not going to be a long video in here. I wanted to kind of dissect the decline, see where we're coming, what's going on in here, and what can be done about it, if anything. I mean, the RSI here, it's it's not actually pushing off that low based on kind of what I'm seeing here on this decline. But let's jump over and take a look at the smaller time frames here fairly shortly. So longer term, this is the count. So on a 2-week, we're in a big uptrending market here, in a big uptrending channel. We kind of line up, multiple touch points in here, and it does seem like this, is trying to do maybe a fourth wave at a larger degree here and trying to correct some of this, very, very strong advance here. I mean, ever since, 2012, it's been in a very, very nice impulsive rally, but it did look like it's getting, a little bit overbought in here. It's starting to get those divergences on a much larger time frame in here as we're making new highs. And it came near a termination point there at about $700. So even in terms of valuations, this were, pretty high up there. And, the market just punished Netflix along with a lot of other stocks here that you're very familiar with. Especially with the ARC names there that have been kind of demolished along with the rest of the technology and communication sector. So what I'm looking here, basically, let me kind of go back to a 2-day chart. First of all, I'm watching, pretty interesting zone of support back in here. So this is the first thing that kind of draws my attention, right? I'm looking at the market that's coming, very nice into this zone back here. Right, this zone here has been tested a couple of times on the way up, and here we are coming back again. So you can expect there's going to be quite a bit of bidding coming into Netflix, especially after a such a long, a 62% sell-off at the moment from the highs, right? So a pretty deep sell-off. You're coming back into this a zone of support where price has memory in here. So anywhere from, let's say, 227 to these highs right now, I think it's going to be a good buying zone for a bounce higher. This is kind of how this looks back on a 1-day chart. Let me go to a 2-day in here. But on our last video, we were kind of finishing off this decline right back in here. This is where we were. We were just talking about this decline, and we were expecting a little bit of a recovery higher back towards this zone of resistance. I'm going to push it up right now. Something back there. And this never really came through, right? So, Netflix just kind of did a little bit of an impulse. It came back in here. I was looking, hey, maybe this is a second wave and we're going to get a bit of a push back up higher. But the earnings just came and just crushed this market lower. So the market was just not ready to rally yet. Could you foresee this? It's kind of hard because, you know, it almost looked like you had a completed sequence here in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and, you know, stuff happens. You're getting earnings and the market decides to just push to the downside. So now you're going to have to go back to the drawing board and say, well, what are you going to be left with? I mean, you thought you're going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a completed sequence. You know, you never really moved higher. I think we've talked about that, you know, that we might want to wait until this pushes back above 430, at least to kind of get more confidence that that's going to continue to correct higher. And here is the market, you know, it was never really able to kind of get past above those levels in this initial rally, and it crashed lower. So what are we left with in here? I'm looking at this decline. I mean, this is a big acceleration gap in here in a third wave. And so if that's a third and I'm getting a mess in here, right, that's got to be a fifth wave. So I'm looking at this as counting it just like so. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's a wave 1. Then we're getting a second wave in there. Then we're getting a large third wave. Then we're getting an A, B, C here for a fourth wave, and possibly a fifth wave. That completes, or it's near completion of wave A of a larger 4. So you're looking at this impulsively. I don't think you can count this as wave C of a flat. I mean, it would be amazing if that would be the case, right? If you look at this whole thing as being a, I don't even know how you can count this, because it's clearly, you know, if you think about it, it looks more as a pretty clean impulse out of here. So, you know, what I'm trying to get at is that how can you count this as a flat? Where you would have to go A, you would have to go B, and then down in C for a flat. But it's so awkward, and then you gotta have three-wave moves, and this does not look like it's like it's a three-wave move to the upside. Any way you kind of splice it, it's still a five-wave move. So I'm thinking this is maybe just wave A of a decline. You're gonna get a B, and then maybe another sell-off in a wave C. At least that's kind of where my mind goes at the moment. You know, can you do a flat here in going, you know, like this, and up in B and then down in C? That's a very big stretch in here. I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't look good at all. But that's the only way where I could accept that this could be a C wave, a sharp C wave decline, and then Netflix is about to rally much higher, right? You know, I'm not going to hold my breath onto that. I'm going to go with this approach that's wave A of 4. And, you know, something like this might happen, let's say, over the next couple of years, that we might probably going to get a recovery in here, going this A, up in B, and then, you know, some kind of another C wave that's probably not going to be as sharp as this A. Let me just kind of clean this up as this, because it's going to correct a little bit the subdivisions. So it's changing it to a minor. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for A, then up in B, and maybe a little bit of a not so aggressive C wave makes a new low, and then you're pushing back to the upside. So kind of going back to a one-day chart, let's see how this looks. So I'm looking at this as a flat formation. So that's, you know, possibly an ending diagonal in a wave C. So let's see if we can do that. So that's up in A, down in B, and then up in C, if we're considering this a third. Let's think about this for a second. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a wave 1, up in 2, down in 3, then up in A, down in B. See this move in here? It looks corrective. So you have an ABCX, ABC, right? So it almost looks like a complex B wave to new lows. And then you're pushing higher here in what looks to be, you know, an ending structure in here. So we can go and kind of decompose this as an ending diagonal. Let's see if I'm getting this a little bit of a better view in here like that. So I'm going to put up the channel. It's not an expanding one, but, you know, you can go here on an ABC for a wave 1, then down in 2, up in 3. You know, just because wave 4 is maybe a little bit bigger than wave 2, but not by much. And then, you know, you're pushing higher briefly in this fifth wave. That's kind of how you look at that move being corrective in a C wave. Remember, in corrections, in flat corrections, they are 3, 3, 5. So you gotta have 3 wave in a rally, a 3 wave in a decline and then 5 wave in another rally. So that's your, and in this case, this would be called a running flat because wave B came before the origin of the wave A. So it's just like when you're looking up, but in reverse on a kind of a bearish structure for this. The other way you could kind of look at this was just kind of how we looked at it before in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think that's kind of how we've had it. And maybe we looked at this as an ending in this wave 5. But then if that's the case, then what it is, then it's an A, a very small B, and a C, and you're counting this in 3 waves. I mean, if that's the case, so this is an A, I'm not going to make a B there, but that's where the B is, because it's hard for me to make it with this marker, but that would be a B, and then you would kind of come down in C. It's possible, but I think it's quite forced if you do that, right? I mean, this is one way where you could maybe have a 4th wave completed here, and then you're about to rally. But no matter what, I think that this move here, it's kind of characteristics of a 5th wave termination with a lot of liquidations, you know, a lot of desperation here as the market pushes. I mean, it's not enough that it had a big decline from 620 to 350. You know, they're taking it one more time from 360 to 260, another $100 move. And in terms of percentage decline in here, I mean, you're looking at another 30% decline, right? Which happens basically on a sell-off. So I don't think this is going to be sustained much. Maybe we're going to come back a little bit here and just maybe keep sliding down towards 240, maybe 230. But I would take my chances any day on this one being what it looks to be a terminal move, and then try to enjoy a rally to the upside here back towards the 4th wave, maybe $400, maybe for the rest of the year, or you know, up into next year. And if that's a B wave or the beginning of a much larger impulse, you know, higher above 700, that remains to be seen. This is obviously has to do with what I've talked yesterday as well, in terms of what's going to happen with the Federal Reserve, how much they're going to be able to raise interest rates, what's going to happen with the S&P 500, if we're going to get back to an easing cycle, right? I mean, just because the Fed say they're going to tighten because of inflation, it doesn't matter, it's going to happen. The inflation can come down, they can be more relaxed in the tightening process. Bad news can happen in the economy. You can get into a recession. They're going to stimulate. They're going to cut rates. They're going to increase their balance sheet again. And all of a sudden, Netflix is back to $600 because why not? People are going to buy risk. And listen, on a shorter term basis, you know how they say markets, you know, are a little bit of a discounting mechanism, but on the longer time frame, they're more of a weighting mechanism. Netflix continues to be a great company with great growth, you know, with lots of subscribers. You know, God knows I'm looking at Netflix, you know, almost every day. There's a lot of cool shows there. You know, it's a little messy. They got a lot of, anyway, I'm not going to get into the details. There's maybe too much content on there, but I'm sure they're going to get their stuff together and start performing. You just going to have to be a little bit patient. But, you know, very nice sell-off in here. And, you know, continue to kind of watch it, right? Guys, listen, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. I hope you enjoyed this. And, you know, thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.